Hi, Gigi, and welcome to the Be That Life experience. I have been very much looking forward to this episode for such a long time, and finally it has happened.
Hi, Mary. Same. I'm been very excited about this. Thanks for having
And
me here.
it's really good that we're doing it in the new year, 2026. Leave the toxic year behind. It's been a toxic year for a lot of people, not you. Have you had like the best year ever? Everyone's been like complaining how horrible that year was.
I've actually had the best beer ever, like building GABIT.
Oh, wow.
So yeah,
No challenges, nothing.
when you're building, you face challenges every day.
Yeah,
It's part of who you are.
right.
But I think overall, when you see the outcome and what you're able to drive, that actually makes a lot of difference.
Yeah,
We met
actually.
in 2025.
Yeah, actually. Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's the plus to 25 because we met. Of course, there's the downsides, but then there's the great sides too. Also,
Yeah,
all
always.
of that, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, that's the perfect answer, I guess, for any founder, right? There's always going to be the challenges that come with anything. But before we talk about your new beautiful baby, we're going to be talking about your old baby.
Okay.
Okay, and
Okay.
you built something like super incredible, Zomato. For everyone that knows you, sure knows Zomato has built. You've built like this incredible consumer tech company that has generated billions. But aside from that, you've also changed the landscape of what food delivery system is about,
Yeah.
right? So can you just take us back to that story? Why you decided to join Zomato, and why you decided to exit, and where you are at today?
Sure. So yeah, so I think I've had a tremendous opportunity and time building startups for the last 10 years or more. And Zomato just happened by chance. I met Dipinder, who was the founder of Zomato, by chance. And we hit it together and we said, let's do it together. I joined Zomato at that time, like almost like no decided role as such, and said, let's build this. And ended up building almost every part of Zomato, and became the founder as well. And it was a fun ride. And a lot was happening around that time, but then COVID hit us, right? And during COVID, for the first time in my life, I actually fell into a rhythm of working out regularly, eating better food, sleeping at home, not on flights. I used to travel a lot, and my health dramatically improved. I lost 30 pounds of weight. Metabolic age came down by 14 years. I was 39 metabolically when I was so I was 49 metabolically when I was 49 metabolically when I was 39 actually. And now I'm actually 35 metabolically when I actually am 45.
Beautiful.
And I said, this is magical. These four pillars: fitness, nutrition, sleep, and stress
Yeah.
are magical. Any health goal that you pick up or any health issue that you pick up, whether it's obesity, whether it's overweight, whether it's diabetes, whether it's hypertension, these are the four basic pillars that help you improve your health.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I said, if I can build, then I should build for something bigger, better. And I saw this as a massive opportunity. Can I do this for millions of people? Which I did for myself, like living healthier longer. And I said at the right time, I will do this. So at that time, of course, Zomato was going through a lot. COVID was happening. And then we decided to do the IPO as well. And we actually did the IPO in COVID. So I did the entire roadshow for the IPOs on Zoom. Didn't meet anyone. And then, of course, we listed Zomato for $7 billion. It closed the day at $12 billion. And today it's at over 30. It's a massively success story. Of course, there's a lot of challenges behind building that whole startup, like every other startup. But then after that, after the IPO, I thought Zomato was in a great place. I was in a great place. And I said, now is the right time to build my next mission. And then that's how the new baby started. But that's the context.
Wow. Okay. And why did you decide to do a wearable though? It could have been anything else. There's so many aspects to building, so many things that can also create an impact in health. It could have been just supplements, it could have been a course, it could have been an education platform, but you decided you wanted to do a wearable. Why?
So I spent a year thinking about how to build for better health, because before that it was just my journey. So I met a lot of founders, doctors, scientists to understand how does this work. So one thing was super clear, that these four pillars that I spoke about, they all are very important. Plus, more importantly, they are all interconnected. So you sleep well, so you can do fitness better in the morning. You do fitness well, you can actually eat better, you're more active. So I think all of this is super connected and we don't understand that, but it really works very powerfully. So that was very clear that these have to come together in whatever form and shape. You have to deliver better health. And second thing was that unlike bad habits, where you get a kick right away, you have coffee, you have alcohol, in good habits or health, you don't get that right away. Like you start working out today, and in 3 months you might see something, right? And because you're changing your workout regime, you're putting yourself through something different. Either it's food, whether it's workout, it's pain. So imagine, like from a human psychology perspective, put yourself through pain and you don't even see the result. Would you actually put yourself through pain again
No,
and again? No, you
absolutely
would
not.
not. So then you need something which is a more real-time feedback for you to keep going on that journey, which is where, for example, wearables or data, your own data comes into picture. And the second most important thing is that you can only improve something that you can measure. Otherwise, it's very, very subjective and you don't know whether you're actually on the right track or not. So, given these two perspectives, it was very clear from the beginning that as we build GABIT, as we build a health tech platform, which actually, or a longevity platform, which essentially has to improve people's health, tracking has to be an important part. So that was a starting point. And then we said, okay, if you have to help people track their health markers, how can we do that? And there also, the other part of human psychology is that you have to build for consumers, of course, knowing that humans are inherently lazy. We want maximum outcome in minimum input. Yeah. So you have to make stuff really easy for them. So the idea was, how can we make this tracking super easy and, more importantly, continuous? Not like one time snapshot of, let's say, a blood test, just a blood test, which is also powerful, but just a 1 point snapshot like today, but it's not continuous. And then we said, okay, the wearables is a good way to do that. And then we said, how can we make it easy? What is a wearable which is the most convenient when it comes to sleeping, because sleep is important to track, or otherwise, what are people used to wearing? And we finally came up with this, which is, of course, the ring seems to be the higher UX and the easiest to do. And that's why we started the wearable.
Okay, and you went through your own like health journey, right?
Yeah.
And that's the reason why you thought like this transformation was really important. But during that health journey and during building Zomato, like you said, any founder goes through the challenges of it. Even today, knowing you, you're always on a plane. That's what you do best. It's like you're just so used to that lifestyle. So like you have a job of like a pilot and an air hostess because you're literally living in planes. And I say that because for the first 5 years of me coaching in the health space as a gut specialist, the one thing that I've noticed from working with C-level executive, high net worth individuals is they're always on planes. They're
Mhm.
always traveling in different time zones. And the one thing that they can never hack is sleep
Mhm.
because you're working such crazy hours. You are putting your body in excessive amounts of stress. They're not sleeping in a regular basis. So they're eating trash to feel better. And the thing is that accumulates over time because not many people even realize the concept of sleep debt. When I would explain that, they're like, what? What is sleep debt? I
Mhm.
didn't even realize I had that. Most of the founders I know operate on only 3 to 4 hours of sleep.
Mhm.
And that's just a standard across the board. And for them, they've gotten so accustomed by that that their body operates on that and feels okay. It isn't ideal or optimal, but they just feel okay. And because they've been operating on that for so long, they automatically think this is the norm,
Yeah.
but it's not the norm,
Yeah.
right? And if you're not tracking or wearing a wearable or even looking at anything, how do you know that
Yeah.
you're on sleep debt? It's not the norm. That your heart rate is going up. You're not even in deep sleep at any point of time. You're not tracking nutrition. You're not understanding your stress levels. How do you know? There is no tracking
Yeah.
anything involved. So sure, I'm someone who is in the health space and understand that. I would make them track it.
Mhm.
So yes, I would give them a wearable to do. And a lot of them already had wearables, but a lot of them never used it to track the proper ways.
Yeah.
So as somebody who understands it from a deeper level, I understand the importance of tracking, right? But sure, in your experiences working in these crazy hours environment, how do you deal with burnout? This isn't from a standpoint of you building Gabit now, but it was more like from a standpoint of Zomato first,
Mhm.
right? How were you dealing with burnout? Were you also constantly, sleep deprived?
So I'll tell you, and I think it's very interesting. In my case, it's a complete transition. I've lived both lives as founders. So at Zomato, I used to sleep for like 4 5 hours on an average, and I used to think I'm a superhero,
Yeah.
and I used to boast about it. I used to think great about it. I used to feel proud about it. And I think, to your point, I used to feel like I wish to end my day at like 2 3 a.m. in the morning and hit office at 9 a.m. again. And I'm like, this, I can do this. And I felt like always that I can do this. But the problem is at that time, first of all, I didn't know about much about health. Secondly, of course, I was not tracking anything. So I believed that this is fine because on the outside, everything seemed okay. I was functioning. But from the inside, what it's doing to you, you don't even realize that. You're killing yourself like blow by blow, right? And I think now, even though I'm building GABIT, which is an early stage, where I'm a much smaller team, there's so much to do when you're actually building early stage. The one thing I don't sacrifice is my sleep. So my number one priority in life now is my 7.5 to 8 hours of sleep. Second is my workout in the morning. Third is my daughter. Fourth is my wife, and fifth is GABIT. Now, this tag was very different earlier. And I realized that if I don't do one and two properly, I'm not going to be healthy. I'm not going to be available for the remaining three, four, five. So, what's the point of actually even not prioritizing this? So, I think it's very different. And even though I'm spending, let's say, on an average, maybe 3 hours more sleeping now as a founder, I am able to do much more. I'm so much more productive. I'm so much more alert in terms of what I'm doing. And it's just like it's working beautifully. And it's not just the sleep, it's also moving every day, work out in the morning, that rhythm is set in, and it just makes you very, very active. So it's important to prioritize health for everyone. And I think the burnout sometimes is evident. In my case, it wasn't. I was functioning fine mentally and physically, but I'm sure in the inside I was killing myself. So you, and that you can only understand if you're actually, of course, are aware about it, which I wasn't, or you're measuring it, right? For example, like we think on the outside everything will be fine, but if you look at your resting heart rate when you sleep, if your resting heart rate is high, you know that something is wrong inside, right? That's a very simple marker to know whether something is right or wrong. So yeah, so I would really urge, either explicitly or implicitly, if people feel burnout, whether it's founders or even non-founders, everybody goes through that. I think it's important that you take care of your health and you prioritize, like, for example, important things like sleep, movement, just better food, super duper important.
And have you ever in this period ever felt like, like you've had like brain fog, problems with like memory and issues when you were working at Zomato? Because obviously now with your Gabit is very different, right? It's a different life because you understand health now and you prioritize all of those things. But the reason I want to take us always back to what your lifestyle was before is because most people are living in that space today,
Hmm.
right? And regardless if I'm coaching or not coaching anymore, I still see it every single day,
Hmm.
day in, day out, with the people that I'm meeting and the people that are coming to me and expressing their problems. So, what was happening in your mental space at that time? For someone that has built such an insanely powerful, strong, successful brand, you're operating on minimal amount of sleep, saying that you looked great on the outside, never felt anything. Like what was happening with your brain health? Were you always sharp, always in the best mood? Were you having great relationships with people? What was that feeling like?
So I can tell you, I can only answer this question in hindsight for you because I've gone through the transition. But I can tell you another thing. If most people ask themselves today, when they've only seen that state, that are they actually working at less efficiently or less effectively? The answer will be they will be like no, because they haven't seen the better side. Now that I've seen the better side, I can tell you that I could have been much more productive while I was doing what I was doing at that time. Was I pushing myself? Yes, I was pushing myself hard, even in those tough days where I didn't sleep enough. Of course, I was feeling tired, but I used to push my mind or use my mind's strength or willpower to say, no, I will push this through. I will do these 3 meetings today. But
Yeah.
that is not the way to do a meeting.
No.
You have to be super charged up, and that's how you have to do it. So I think people don't realize what they're giving up till they see what they can really do if they actually add to it. So that's what I'm trying to say. People need to just try that with them. So I would say experimentation is the best thing. Sleep is doesn't cost anything. Like honestly, better health doesn't cost anything. Steps doesn't cost anything. Sleep doesn't cost anything. Even cleaner food is not that expensive.
Yeah.
You just to be mindful of what you're
Yeah.
eating, right? And mindfulness is just again 10 minutes of meditation in the morning. So it's very, very cost effective to actually be in better health. I would urge people to try one of these things and change and see what happens. Like somebody who's sleeping on an average 5 hours, I would just say like for a week, try to sleep 6 hours, not even seven, go to six. And is the most difficult thing about a new change or change is that the first week is tough. For me, for example, I've realized this: if I can stay through a new habit or a change for a week, I can stay through after that. And for some people, it might be 3 days, for some, it might be 10 days, I don't know. But try out a small change and see if you can feel anything different. And of course, if you can track it, nothing like it, you'll also start seeing difference in your markers.
So give me an example. Back in the day,
Yeah.
when you were, operating from just those many hours and you've, probably had brain fog and not feeling your best, you thought like you can push through. How were you feeling back then to how you're feeling today with enough sleep? Because the first reason here is why to wear a wearable is because sleep. So I want to understand the transition from what you were to what you're feeling today in terms of optimal levels.
Oh, so from that perspective, like I've gone through a long day today itself. I've done meetings through the day, and now we're shooting a podcast in the evening. I'm not feeling tired at all, neither mentally nor physically. I am not sure if I would have been the same when I was actually sleeping much lesser. Absolutely not. There's no way. So I think just in terms of your, I think willingness or being able, I would say like being present,
Yeah.
like just being
Because you're
present in what
not
you're
present
doing.
anymore.
Because
Yeah.
there's I don't think about like my body's not trying to conserve energy or try to find energy somewhere. It's already there.
Yeah.
So I think that's very, very important, because you also need to understand. And I'll tell you a very interesting thing. A lot of people say, and I used to, of course, think the same, was that like when you sleep well, in the morning you feel fresh. When you don't sleep well, in the morning you feel not so fresh. So I think people say that I get a sense of what my sleep was like. But what people don't understand is that in sleep, there are, of course, there's 4 stages, including an awake stage. There's a light sleep stage, there's an REM stage, there's a deep sleep stage. All these three are important, not just deep sleep or REM. Each of them have their own role to play. For example, light sleep is required for memory consolidation. You only consolidate short term memory into long term memory, which you can use later, only if you have good light sleep. REM sleep is very important for rule, like basically your emotions, your mood regulation, all of that. So if you're not doing that enough, then the next day or even subsequently, you'll not be in control of your emotions or reactions. Deep sleep is very important for just recovery when you work out, even for like the brain fogging that you're talking about, like detoxification of the brain. Now, how do you know when you wake up in the morning that you're feeling great, but which part of this was not right for you?
Yeah.
Because all of this has to function in a sustainable manner. So I think, again, tracking is important because you need to understand the science behind it. And again, I won't say if all of these 3 stages are bad for you, fix everything overnight. You pick up one, try to do something about it, and then move to the next one. But I think it's damn important that you do this, because what you're asking me today is that how do I feel today because I slept well last night? But that's only a very small part. How will I feel in the next 5 years if I keep doing this? I don't even know, and you can't even fathom, because all this comes into in a compounding effect, right? Which is important.
Were you caffeinated a lot in your old life?
No, so I've never had any. I don't drink tea or coffee since childhood, so
Okay,
I'm blessed
so
that way. I
so
didn't have to
what
give that
was
up.
your stimulant to keep you? What was your energy? Red Bulls or it's like energy drinks?
Just my mental willpower, trust me. I
Wow.
actually mostly
That's
just drink the
actually
water.
very
Yes,
impressive
yes,
because most founders I know they drink coffee.
yeah. I
They
don't.
can't survive without some coffee.
Yeah.
Or they drink alcohol or they're doing something, like energy drinks or energy gels or anything to just help. But that's amazing that you've managed to create this life for yourself and go through all of that without any coffee or any stimulant.
And maybe because there was no stimulant or a measure of a stimulant being used, I didn't even realize that I was pushing through. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When, example, somebody's going through that and they actually take like one coffee or two coffee a day and they have to increase it to like three or four, they
Yeah.
know that something's changed. I'm not probably operating, but I didn't have anything like that. I didn't have any trigger like that to tell me what was going wrong.
Is there a reason that you don't drink tea? Because tea is beneficial, by the
Just
way.
didn't get in the habit since childhood.
Yeah, but I mean, you're Indian, and Indians love tea.
But the Indians drink is not very healthy.
But
The new form of tea, which is
yeah,
green tea and chamomile tea,
yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah,
healthy.
yeah.
So I've started taking that, but I'm not a big fan either of that. I'm not into habit, but yeah. So the good thing is the bad type of tea, which we've been used to since childhood, or like from old days, that I wasn't used to.
Okay, so what were the bad habits that you had at Zomato that the good habits picked up with GABIT?
Sleep is one we've spoken about it. I used to think very differently about sleep. No regular workout regime. So I was active. I used to play tennis, but whenever I felt like I was traveling all the time.
So you're like, are you a pro tennis player?
Not a pro.
But are you really good?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm
So you
good.
can play paddle?
Yes, I can
We're
play
gonna play
better.
sometime.
Let's do that. Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
So
so
so no
fitness.
regular rhythm of working out. I used to play tennis. I used to be active. So whenever there's some opportunity to play sport, I would do it. I'll enjoy it, but it was not like a rhythm for me. Um, Absolutely had no. In terms of other bad habits, yeah, yeah, food, for example.
Oh, food,
I
yeah.
wasn't even
It's a
aware
big one,
of.
by the way. It's 90%
Yeah.
food.
So one is how much you consume, and then the other is what you consume.
Yeah.
And I think just because I never thought about it that deeply, of course I had a very basic sense, but a very basic. I didn't know what really is how bad is that kind of food for me,
Yeah.
right?
So you weren't
Yeah.
doing like regular blood checkups, annual checkups per year. You weren't doing
No,
any of that.
no, maybe
Oh.
annual checkups like once or twice, like once in 2 years, something like that. But
Oh.
that's about it. And the markers seem okay, but I think that's a very small snapshot of what really going to happen.
Yeah,
So I
right.
think these were some of the bad habits that I had. And in GABIT, of course, it's changed as I told you. I think, and again, I think it's very interesting. I'll share with you. So before COVID, I used to travel a lot. So never fell into a rhythm. And I think travel is one of the most difficult things which hampers your health. It's very
Totally.
difficult to overcome or fix your health if you're traveling a lot. Generally, that's personal experience. COVID happened, so there was a time period of 2.5 years where I didn't travel much. Yeah, and in that I picked up all of this, like my new habits, my new avatar of health, then actually knowing what I should do and all of that. And then after 2.5 3 years of not traveling, I started traveling again. So I'm actually traveling a lot, as you said right now. But my habits and my whole routine is so different now, even when I travel. For example, when I used to select a hotel to go to, either for vacation or for work, I would look for which are the hotels which are close to nice eating places,
Yeah.
right? Which are the ones which are good restaurants. Now, when I book a hotel, the first thing I ask for is which has a good fitness center, which I
Oh,
can access to. Like just the whole
yeah.
the perspective has changed, right? Not that I don't like food anymore, but I think that's my first priority.
Yeah.
So I now travel and I've figured out. So, if, for example, another thing, I've realized this: like when you travel, sometimes you take like late flights. You to get to sleep at like 10 in the night, which you usually do. So, but what I do is even then I would plan my day in a way that I get my 7.5 to 8 hours. So if I'm sleeping at midnight, I will then start my day later next morning. I won't compromise on the hours. I'll compromise on the consistency, but not on everything that is there. So that's helping.
Okay, and I mean, coming from an angle of like focused on gut health,
Yeah.
and that's all I talk about, breathe, live. I have spent my whole life like truly understanding the gut microbiome, right? I say my whole life because from a very young age, I grew up in a home where my mom literally only cooked meals. We very rarely ate out,
Mhm.
and she really believed in the power of food. So she's 72 right now and has never been sick her whole life.
Wow.
Super healthy, walking, thriving. She walks faster than me, and super talkative.
That's
You'd never
amazing.
think she's 72. And I think that's what everyone's dream is, to
Hmm.
be in a place where they're at that age. I mean, I know I want to be like that and thriving. She has never had a hip replacement or a knee surgery or any of the things that a lot of people in their 70s develop.
Hmm.
And the reason why is because she's always focused on sleep and gut health. And she raised us with that same mindset and built our gut microbiome with such resilience that today I never have gut related issues.
It's amazing.
But also, I look at it from a standpoint by I have been so blessed that I've been the kind of person that have never had issues with sleep ever. So you can put me here today, and if I am tired, I will just fall asleep. Or you put me in an airplane or in a car or like anywhere, and I can just sleep while a lot of people suffer and have those struggles. And I had Dr. Michael Bruce, who is the sleep doctor, on my podcast, one of my very first episodes when I launched Be That Life Experience. And we spoke a lot about this and the topic and how some people are just genetically blessed to be able to sleep so well, and while others fight it so much because they do the other modalities that doesn't help their body cope, and that's you're caffeinated,
Mm.
you're not managing stress well. And another thing is you can't manage your thoughts.
Hmm.
And a lot of people who are founders or C-level executives or just people in general, the wider population, our issues is we're always thinking, overthinking, overstressing, overcomplicating, right? And we live in a world where it's just we have so many responsibilities. It's like to pay our bills, to you know um, pay our family's bills, to what am I putting on food the next day, or like how can I travel to that destination, or how can I keep my job,
Hmm.
right? It's always overthinking. Did you ever experience that in your life? Like you are just an overthinker? I mean, as a founder, you think over all the time. How are you managing overthinking?
So one, you have to be aware of the fact that it is not a good thing to do. And one simple way to think about these things, which I actually learned during my journey of building Zomato as well, is that always when you come across any thought or anything that you're trying to solve, you have to ask the first question: Is this in my control or out of my control? I think we just like try we start solving everything that we see. And when you look at problems, sometimes they're in your control and sometimes they're not in your
But
control.
isn't that also life?
But yeah, but you should know that.
Yeah.
And what I'm trying to say is, but things which are not in your control, you can't do anything about it. So let it be. Just let it be. Things in your control, then think about what you can do to get them in control. Don't just keep thinking that they're out of control. I think you just can't keep thinking about the problem. You have to actually move to saying, okay, I feel bad about it. I feel stressed about it. I feel anxious about it. That's fine. Call it out. And then move to saying, what are the three things I can do
To fix
to
this.
fix this? That's it. I've seen this and I've done this to myself multiple times. As soon as I get into that mode, I feel so much better. I just write three things on a paper and I feel like so much better. And I'm sure if people try this, they will figure it out. So, one, first understand which one you want to solve for. And second, after that, get into action mode or do something about it. And if you get into action mode, you can't think anything, then it's not in your control. Then somebody else has to do something about it. So I think that really helps. And the good thing about building is that you go through this challenges or these kind of pressures every day multiple times, and I think your mind and your body, if it's open, it tries to adapt, tries to learn how to go through this. So I think that's what it is. So I've never had a problem of not being able to sleep just because my thoughts overrun. Very rarely would that happen in a few scenarios, but again, I think that's very momentary. But I think I've realized that this hack of getting to action mode and realizing what you can solve, what you can't solve, is super helpful for me.
So I've known you for a while now.
Hmm.
You're always so calm. Like your demeanor is calm, the way you speak is calm, the way you manage obstacles or challenges, you're just calm. Have you always been this, or it's like you learned to become this way?
I think I've improved a lot over time, and I think it's not just about how my demeanor come across. I can tell you what goes in my mind. How peaceful is my internal mind, right? Sometimes people can project a very peaceful external, like facade, but internally they might be going through like a typhoon, right? But in my case, what I also know is more than externally, because I think externally is different from what really goes inside. Sometimes I've actually learned to understand these things much better and solve for these, right? For example, what I just shared with you, I was not perfect with this. There were times initially I would be like, just I would spend like 1 or 2 days just worrying about the topic,
Yeah.
and I would just like keep thinking about it and just get worried about it. But now, as soon as something like that comes, I acknowledge that of course it is making me feel uncomfortable, but the very next moment I actually take out time, deprioritize other things in my life which are not as important, and then solve it. And that's another thing. Sometimes people get caught up by the plans they make or the to-do list they have in the order they put down, right? But life is dynamic. So if today something comes up which is earth shattering, which is causing you anxiety, pain, then you have to change your priority. Then you say the other things are not that important. I need to take out half an hour right now to fix my mindset and fix this thing before I can get to the other things. People don't do that. They just keep continuing with the current set of list with the same anxious mind, and they're not even effective in doing those, and they're not solving for the other one. So you have to reprioritize, you be dynamic. So again, all of this I learned over a period of time. This is not like not something that I actually thought of from day one. I should make the same mistake. I'm like, what am I doing?
Yeah, because it's interesting to know, like as a founder of a company, like how do you manage those moments? Like I love watching founders and watching their behavior, their demeanor, and to see how they operate in every given situation. And I don't say it out loud to them, but I'm always studying that body
Hmm.
language, right? Because it also says a lot about how they build successful businesses. What does it take to really build something like that? For example, yesterday I was having a conversation with one of my friends, and we were talking about like when it comes to who are your top people that you really want to meet in life today, who would that be? But alive and not dead, right?
Hmm.
And they said a few names here and there, but a lot of the time, the general consensus of people is they really want to meet Elon Musk, right? I mean, being like the richest man on the planet, like what makes him the richest man of the planet, right? What makes him tick? Obviously, his demeanor is not exactly like your demeanor. He is very vocal about many things. He's very opinionated. You know, he has a very different way of how he likes to move in the world, let's say, but also he happens to be like the most successful person in the world. And then you have someone like, you know, Richard Branson and Bill Gates and so many others who are also very successful, but also move through life very differently.
Hmm.
So, you know, like what makes people tick? We are always looking at those aspects of life, of human existence. You know, he may be operating in um very little amount of sleep, but I don't look at him as the most healthiest person in the world. I don't think he's the most fit, right? So there's many things like and many others who are also like very successful, but also health it doesn't seem like a priority to them. But then we see the stories like Steve Jobs, where health wasn't his priority until it became his priority,
Yeah.
right? And at his deathbed, that's what he talks about. It's
Hmm.
like, I have built successful companies. I have made all of this money, but now I'm here and my money can't save me. So it goes back to that same point, right? Who are we when no one is watching? All the money and all the wealth that we built and all this impact that we're trying to create. If you die tomorrow, what's the legacy you want to leave behind? That you were, unhealthy, you looked unhealthy, you were disrespectful, you handled stress very inappropriately, you didn't talk to people in the right way. So I think legacy building and what we're trying to create in the world today is very different for everyone,
Yeah.
but at the cornerstone of that and the foundation of that is health.
Yeah.
So another thing is like when it comes to tracking and wearables, a lot of people look at it from a point of like, I don't want to obsess with that.
Mm.
I know people who have been using the Apple Watch forever and have been like, okay, I went through a point where it was actually toxic for me
Mm.
because like it was just like too much. It was too much in my head. I was like always tracking data, data, data. And that is like the counter argument for people as to why they don't want to wear wearables. As somebody who's a founder of a wearable, what would you say to people like that?
So the thing I would say is that one, you need to figure out what works for you. Different things work for different people, and I think there's some fundamental first principles that you can't change. For example, if you really want to improve your health, you have to measure it in some form and shape. Otherwise, you don't know whether you're moving forward, right? The other thing I tell people is that let's say you're wearing a ring or any wearable for that matter. There's multiple data points that you can see about your sleep, about your stress, about your nutrition, maybe about your fitness, about your VO2 max, resting heart rate. Is so much. Figure out what is important or intriguing for you. You don't have to look at everything, right? It's in completely your control when you open the app, how many times you open the app and what you look at. And I've seen that some people just love looking at the sleep score and nothing else. They just want to fix that. Some people just want to count their steps, and that's perfectly fine. So I think figure out what works for you, but start somewhere, right? And I think again, I would say this like you have to control your mind or thoughts to say, why am I being anxious about this? Because the only thing you should be worrying about is not the absolute number. And that's another problem I have. So when people look at steps or let's say any number, they're like, oh, I did 10,500 steps. I should have done 11,000 steps, right? Why is that a problem? Why is that a thing? You should ask yourself, I did 10,500 today. How many did I do yesterday? What was the average I used to do last month? What was the average I used to do last year? And if the number is changing over time and improving, you should be happy with it. because the trend has to be upwards. And it's not about the number per se. Whether that number is even 100% accurate or not, how does it even matter?
Yeah.
So I think people need to focus on the trend. People need to figure out what works for them. And I think people should measure, because if you can't measure, you can't improve it. Similarly, for blood test, for example, people keep taking supplementation without checking what it is doing to their body. It is first principle science that all our bodies are different in terms of how they respond to anything you take based on our genetic disposition. So some one person taking a vitamin D versus a second person taking vitamin D, the absorption levels can be very different. For some people can get to toxic levels for the same dosage, for the others still might be deficient. I didn't realize that it happened to me. I was taking vitamin D very happily, and then I used to get blood tests at least done once a year, and it came out as toxic. I said, wow, I was deficient. I started taking supplementation to become toxic, and then I realized I can't take it at this frequency. And thank God for the blood report. So I think one is you have to improve something, but the other is also you need to understand when you're taking or making changes to your body, how is it impacting your body? Same thing for protein, same thing for everything else. That it is important that you see what's happening, and there's no point getting anxious about something that you can't control. But I think this is what you need to figure out. And the best part about all of this is that we all talk about personalized outcomes for us, and I think it's become like a cliche word. But the one thing I realized about health and wearable data, this is the most personalized thing I've ever seen. This is completely your data for you, being shown to you. And I think what you can do with that is so impactful, just because there is no generalization about it, right? And I think that's also very, very interesting here, that you can't just pick up somebody else's insights and fix yourself with it. You can look at yours and you can actually make small changes to fix it.
I feel like we're fortunate and blessed. We're living in an era where we can track. I grew up in an environment, and my father, who got cancer, didn't grow up in an environment or an era which we could track in the same way in real time data. So I think, we are progressing in a way that we should look at this as a positive opposed to a negative, because we can't live in this archaic mentality and follow old ways. Sure, ancient medicine, ancient traditions, they've been lost in time. There's so much benefits to natural forms of healing, but there's also so much benefits from curiosity
Yeah.
and the need to know. Because I talk about this all the time in the way I speak about the gut microbiome. We're not a one size fits all approach. Every environment that we're in, you're going to go to New York soon, and your gut microbiome is going to change when you're in New York. You're going to go back to India, and your gut microbiome is different when in India. Well, you're in an environment where you're at work, then less when you're in an environment and you're on vacation, right? There's a difference between sympathetic and parasympathetic. We're in the fight or flight, or we're not. We're in the rest and digest state, right? So I believe that where wearables are moving forward and where AI is taking us is actually a benefit to us
Hmm.
as people, as a human society. And if we're not taking advantage of that and we're rejecting that, you're just you are going to be in a stage where you're going to be left behind, right? In terms of understanding your own biomarkers, your own health. If you come from a family line of diabetes, we all know that that doesn't mean you're going to get diabetes. If you come from a family line of obesity, we know now based on epigenetics, you're not going to get it.
Yeah.
It's all lifestyle and environment and how you decide that you want to live and how you want to break those curses, those generational curses. It starts with you. And I say this all the time to every single person that I've ever worked with in the past and till today. It's what I preach. It always starts with you. And so moving forward, and today, there are a lot of wearables out there. And people are going to get confused, right? And it's always like any brand, and I'm a founder of brand. It's like, how good is your marketing campaign? How good are you at selling what you're trying to prove to people for them to buy it? Whether, because that's a trend now, right? Your marketing campaign, how good that is. And that's what people buy. They buy that campaign. But aside from all of that
Mhm.
and all the facade that comes with trying to build a campaign and changing that, for you personally as a founder, an authentic founder who really believes in true health, transformation, longevity, biological aging, anti aging, pro aging, all of those things, What makes Gabbit different from all the other wearables? If somebody is looking to purchase one today and has never been on a wearable or is tired of their current wearable and wants to switch, why should they go with Gabbit?
Yeah, sure. And I think it's very important to understand that um, like when you build a great product, you also need to attach great storytelling to it. Yeah. So only great products also don't do well because people don't understand what they do. And by great storytelling, I mean authentic storytelling. So a great combination is a great product and a great storytelling where people understand what's the difference. But it has to be the foundation of a very strong product. In terms of Gabit, I think again built on the fundamental philosophy which we discussed earlier: fitness, nutrition, sleep, and stress. Gabit is the probably the only wearable in the world which focuses well on all these four pillars because they're interconnected, and that's what we've done, and that's why it's a bit different. Secondly, coming back to human psychology, we're all lazy, and the biggest reason people stop using the wearables is because they hate charging the wearable. So we built a Gabit Smart Ring which you have to charge once in 10 days. Yes, which is much better than the competition that we have. And thirdly, I think we believe that health data is very important to you, but most importantly, you should be in control of your data. So the Gabbit ring is actually completely subscription free. So it's a one time purchase. So once you buy a Gabbit ring and start looking at your data, you don't need to pay Gabbit to look at your health data for life. And I think we really stand by that philosophy. So that's what we're trying to do, and that's why it's doing well. In fact, we got the Best Smart Ring of the Year award by Amazon 3 months back. We did a campaign with some folks, and that campaign got the Best Campaign of the Year award by the International Advertising Association. So a great product and great storytelling. So yeah, that's working well.
That's beautiful. And you're coming up with some new things, right? And I think you mentioned something about glucose monitoring. You have that already?
Yeah, so we have as a platform, we are a longevity platform. We're not just a ring
Yeah,
company.
I think that's important to
Yeah.
mention. Like, can we talk about that?
Yeah. So we have so again we have the smart ring where you can track all your wearable data. Then we have blood test on the platform, so you get your blood test done.
So, how does that work? They ship it to like different regions or
Yeah.
countries?
Yeah, so basically you can so some like, and we do this in India right now. So if you basically book your blood test, somebody comes and takes your blood sample,
Okay. So, then you're going to
and
get partners all over the world to
yes, we're
do
going to
this for
launch
you.
in UAE as well soon on
Okay.
blood test, and then we also have CGM, which is continuous glucose monitoring, and we also have a smart scale. So 150 markers, over 150 markers, you can actually track on Gabbit in one platform, and that was the biggest thing for me. All this data, your glucose data, your blood markers, your wearable data, your body fat percentage, all of that is actually interconnected. But guess what? For users, till Gabbit came into the picture, you had four different platforms to go to for each of these tests, and they were always sitting on those platforms without talking to each other. So now we built a massive engine which actually looks at all of this data and assesses you from looking at your history and looking at all these different markers, saying what is really screwing up your health. I think that is game changing. And we don't stop at data because we believe customers are coming to Gabit, or our job is actually making them healthy, not just show them data. So now what we've done is we have, of course, have coaches on the platforms where you can take nutrition advice,
Cool.
fitness advice. You can actually do plans with them. But more importantly, we just launched supplements born in Sweden, where essentially what we've done now, we're the first platform globally to have wearable and all this tracking on one place and own supplements on the same platform. So the idea is track yourself, measure yourself, based on that, figure out what supplementation you need. And once you take it, then figure out whether your markers are showing any improvement or not.
Yeah.
So we've made it very objective so that you know what's helping you and what's not helping you. So
Yeah.
might as well allocate your resources to something else, or even what is harming you, right? So I think that's what we're doing now.
That's so exciting. It's some really cool things happening. But what
Yeah.
do you feel in the next 5 years that the wearable industry will be like?
It's moving so rapidly, Mary, that
Yeah.
it's very, very difficult to predict what it'll be like.
Yeah.
I can tell you,
You
like,
think everyone will be wearing a wearable by then? Like a
everyone,
huge
yes, all,
population?
yes, huge population will be wearing it by then. Because I tell you what, one of the other reasons we should track our data is that it can be an early warning signal for a major illness in the future.
Totally.
Like very simple things, like as I said, resting heart rate is such an important determinant of
Yeah.
what your
Yeah.
cardiovascular health is,
Yeah.
right? And if at a particular age your resting heart rate is way above normal, then there is something wrong in the body that you need to get checked.
Yeah.
A simple marker. There are, of course, many blood markers that I can tell you a lot. VO2 max. single most important metric researched and proven to be linked to longevity. Every 5 points increase is probably 5 years or more healthy life.
What is yours, by the way?
Mine is 51.
Wow, yours is better than mine.
What is
I'm
yours?
46.1.
Okay, so new target for you
To
then.
break 51? Oh my gosh. Okay, yeah, definitely new target.
Yeah. So I think, and this is also healthy.
But mine stays excellent.
Yeah.
Mine says I'm in the
So
range for my age
yes,
level. I'm
for
excellent.
your age level and for your gender, it's actually excellent.
I'm excellent.
Yeah,
I'm excellent, by the way.
yeah. That's good to know. I wouldn't have expected anything lesser. But yeah, I think, and that's another thing. So we have a feature called tribes, where you and I can be part of the
Yeah,
same
I like
tribe,
that.
and we can actually compete on VO2 max. We
Yeah,
can compete
I
on
like-
steps.
I like
compete
that.
on sleep score.
I like the fact that when I
Yeah.
saw it on Tribes, that you can
Yeah.
actually just choose. It doesn't have to give you all the markers, you
Yeah.
know, all the different levels. Because I guess some people don't want you to see everything, and they
Exactly.
probably would be reluctant to. For example, like I have my walking community,
Yeah.
and I want everybody to be on the GABIT, right? Because now we tracking steps as a community, but not everybody has a GABIT in the community on a different platform. But eventually, the ultimate goal is in the future, everyone will be on a GABIT,
Mhm.
and then we're gonna create the tribes. And I mean, a lot of people there are probably shy; they don't want to share some other aspects or of their the pillars, right? So we can start. Maybe we can do like a sleep challenge, or we could do a steps challenge. And I think that's like so cool
Yeah.
to be part of a tribes like that and like create those challenges for people. Because if you don't have an accountability partner and a wearable is your accountability partner, you won't be able to be motivated enough to push. So, for example, I know like since I guess got back from Vegas, like December was a crazy month for me. I mean, every month for you is a crazy month for you, but December is a crazy month for me because I traveled a lot that month and I wasn't at my optimal on my sleep. And normally, like I'd be honest, right? I prioritize sleep a lot. Like I am someone that goes to bed at 9:30 and I wake up at 4:30 every day. This is my
Wow.
routine. Okay. And when people would invite, like I live in Dubai, so when people would invite me, I would always be like, I'm not going. I can't. I'm tired by that time. I don't want to do late things. But December was my birthday month, and I was, always festivities and the things.
Yeah.
And so I see it on my Gabbit ring that like my sleep's poor. So I haven't actually been posting it much on social media because like the time that I would go to bed and the time that I'd wake up, because I'd still be waking up early because I had things to do.
Yeah.
I'd go to the gym and like I have my walking community. So like I'm responsible. So no matter what I do the night before, I show up at my walking community because it's a commitment that I make and people rely on that. So I'm pretty much in sleep debt right now. And I haven't been in sleep debt in a very long time. And I like, if I'm not tracking that, I don't know, like I'm just like living life thinking I'm sleeping okay. And, I could go back to my normal routine, but I still had the debt from the before.
Mhm.
And that's keep staying in my mind. So it's pushing me to want to sleep earlier now and say no to many things. And December was the month of the festivity, sure, but January, I'm just back on track.
Good.
And
That's good.
even last night, I went out to a party last night, but I woke up on time, but I woke up and I saw, oh my God, I'm still in sleep debt. So like tonight, like rain or shine, whatever invitations I get, I'm going to sleep on time because I want to make sure I track it. So yeah, for me, there's benefits and I'm enjoying it. I'm loving wearing the Gabbit. Everyone that has ever used the Gabbit so far has incredible feedback. They love how everything operates in real time, and when you're pushing the analyzing down, like everything is like super fast in terms
Right.
of the other wearables. And I've used other wearables myself.
Yeah.
It's not as accurate in real time. So yeah, I'm really happy to be part of the Gabbit family. I can't wait for everybody to be on the Gabbit.
Awesome.
And congratulations on building something super epic. And aside from building something super epic, congratulations on prioritizing health first, because that's like the most important pillar out of everything that we focus on in the world today.
No, that's true. And I think the best part is that while building Gabbit, I feel amazing because I'm getting healthier, right? My wife is my co-founder, so she's getting healthier. Our family's getting healthier. Friends are getting healthier. The world's getting healthier, and I think it's just amazing to see what impact it can lead, right? For example, one of the metrics that we actually want to track and we talk about in the team is in this last 3 years of work at Gabbit, how many years of healthy life have we added to humanity? to people in general. And that number is amazing. So when you're in the trenches feeling it's difficult about something that you're doing, you just step back and say, okay, what are you doing this for? And then the purpose is fantastic. So loving this. Yeah.
Isn't it amazing to wake up every single morning and live with that purpose,
Oh,
to
yeah,
know that you're
absolutely.
changing people's health?
Absolutely.
And it's so nice to sit with someone who believes in the same values I do. Thank you so much, Gigi. I really appreciate your time, and I can't wait to see what the future of Gabbit will bring to the whole world.
Thank you, Mary. It's great to have you on board.